Stepping into the untamed wilderness, a group of students encountered an unimaginable nightmare: a ferocious mother bear and her cub. Horrifying cries of pain and the brutal injuries sustained would forever mark their lives. Join us as we delve into the harrowing tale of survival, where courage and determination take center stage amidst the scars of that traumatic day in 2011. A remarkable journey unfolded when 7 students from Staples High School in Connecticut embarked on an ambitious adventure. These young individuals had signed up for an extraordinary experience with the National Outdoor Leadership School, a renowned program that has shaped leaders and fostered environmental consciousness for over 5 decades. Among the group were 3 16-year-olds, Samuel Boas, Shane Garlock, and Noah Allaire. Joining them were 17-year-olds Joshua Berg, Samuel Gotzigan, and Sam Millman. The oldest of the bunch was Victor Martin, an 18-year-old, ready for the challenges ahead. Their common goal was a 30-day wilderness training expedition, a rigorous course that honed their survival skills and prepared them for a unique challenge: untamed wilderness of Alaska. As they delved into this unfamiliar terrain, thick foliage and a lack of clear pathways greeted them. With determination in their hearts and the memory of their training, they ventured forth in single file, each step carefully navigating through the dense underbrush. Unity was their strength, ensuring that no one would become lost in the intricate labyrinth of the wild. Equipped with the essentials of first aid and survival expertise, they pressed on. Their final test awaited, a daunting task that would put their newfound skills to the ultimate trial. They had to reach a designated vantage point on their own, without the guiding presence of adults. The challenge demanded self-reliance, determination, and a culmination of all they had learned. The group came across a creek as the day slid into the evening. Berg and Gotzigan led the way, pushing through dense bushes that made progress challenging. They then saw something stirring on the other side of the creek. The older boys, thinking back on their training, chose caution. Hearts raced as they waited, curious yet wary about what was coming. Their training told them not to take chances. Suddenly, their hearts seemed to freeze as they watched a large brown bear and her cub emerge from the bushes. This was a scenario straight from nightmares. Mother bear, protective of her cub, stood there like a fierce sentinel. Fear gripped them all as they realized this was a dangerous situation. Their hearts pounded faster as they assessed the risk, fear mingling with uncertainty. Then everything shifted rapidly. The mother bear charged, and there was no time to think. Even if they could react, they didn't have any way to protect themselves. She sprinted across the creek towards them, her intentions clear. In that moment, they were helpless, unarmed, and facing a wild force of nature. Gotzagen, being at the front, was the first target. The bear slammed him to the ground with a powerful hit. He tried to fight back, to kick her away, but it was like hitting a brick wall. She clamped onto his head with her powerful jaws, trying to crush his skull. He felt her teeth digging into him, blood blinding his vision, and he thought this might be the end, taken down by a wild beast. Suddenly, she let go. For a moment, he thought he might get away. Luck wasn't on his side. She latched onto his arms, biting and clawing at them, causing immense pain. He screamed as his skin and muscles were torn apart, the agony almost unbearable. Then, in a desperate attempt to finish him off, she raked her claws across his chest, puncturing his lungs. He screamed again, pain searing through him. He felt his ribs breaking under her weight. Every breath, a struggle. Focus then shifted to Joshua Berg. The bear swiped at him, her sharp claws tearing into his skin. He fought to protect himself, but the bear's power was overwhelming. Her attack on him was brief, as she turned her attention back to Gotzagen. He yelled, telling the others to use the emergency beacon for help. As all this unfolded, the sounds of pain and struggle filled the air. Gotzagen's face was a mess, bruised, bleeding, and contorted in pain. His arms were mangled, bitten and scratched, the skin ripped apart. Blood stained his clothes, the dirt mixing with it. His chest was a battlefield of claw marks, with his breaths coming in painful, laboured gasps. Pain radiated from his ribs, a constant reminder of the bear's weight on him. Berg, on the other hand, had deep gashes on his arms from the bear's swipe. The skin was torn, and blood welled up from the wounds. His face showed a mix of shock and fear, eyes wide as he tried to comprehend the chaos around him. As Noah Aller's trembling fingers reached for the alarm, sudden terror seized the moment. The bear, fueled by primal instinct, struck with relentless force. His thoughts raced, a desperate scramble for survival, an overwhelming realization that life hung by a thread. Panic and adrenaline surged through his veins, a frenzied mix of determination and fear. But his attempts were futile, as the bear's mighty paws swiped him around like a ragdoll. Blood spattered in a gruesome tableau as the bear's claws tore through his skin, a horrifying symphony of agony. Amid this nightmarish reality, Noah clung to consciousness, his world reduced to a vortex of pain and confusion. Every strike from the bear felt like an eternity, each moment etched with a stark understanding of his vulnerability. As the bear cast him aside, his body a canvas of violence. Noah's breaths came ragged, each exhalation mingled with a growing sense of dread. From a short distance away, Victor watched the horrifying scene unfold before him. Frozen in place by fear, his feet felt like they were stuck to the ground, unable to move, his heart pounding in his chest. He couldn't tear his eyes away from the chaos, feeling utterly helpless as the bear attacked his friends. A mix of horror and desperation filled his mind, a desperate wish that he could do something, anything, to stop the nightmare he was witnessing. Then, suddenly, the bear's attention turned to him, and his heart seemed to stop. Time seemed to slow down as his life flashed before his eyes, a whirlwind of memories, dreams, and unspoken hopes. His mind was a storm of fear and adrenaline, a primal instinct to escape the impending danger. He wanted to run, but a heavy realization settled over him that escape wasn't an option. Bear lunged at him. Her jaws closed around his leg with a crushing force, pain shooting through his body like a shockwave. He cried out in agony, pain almost unbearable, his screams filling the air. It felt like his entire world had been consumed by pain and terror. In a shocking turn of events, the bear suddenly released him, and Victor's mind reeled in disbelief. His leg throbbed, the pain echoing in his every nerve. His chest heaved as he gasped for air, his heart still racing from the close call. Forest seemed to close around him as the bear and her cub disappeared into the trees, leaving an eerie silence behind. As he watched them vanish, Victor's mind was a whirlwind of emotions. Gratitude for his sudden reprieve, relief that he was still alive, and an overwhelming hope that the bear wouldn't return. He and his friends were lucky to have survived this terrifying encounter. They knew that if the bear came back, there might not be another chance. The ordeal had been agonizingly brief, lasting mere minutes, yet it left half of their group grappling with the fight for their lives. Boys who weren't hurt rushed to their friends, feeling a mix of worry and urgency. Rain started pouring down heavily, beating against them and washing away the traces of blood into the creek. They quickly activated their personal locator beacons, trying to signal for help from anyone nearby. Despite the rain, they did their best to create a makeshift camp around their injured friends to shield them from the downpour. As time ticked on, at 9:30 p.m, the Rescue Coordination Centre contacted the troopers about the distress signal. Help was on its way, but the hours felt long, and the boys fought to keep their injured friends awake and aware. Samuel Boas's recent training as an emergency medical technician gave them a glimmer of hope. He had completed 100 hours of emergency medical training and had the skills to act under extreme pressure, using whatever limited resources were available to save their lives. Wounded boys relied on whatever they had: plastic bags to try and close the wounds as best they could, and bandages made from gauze. Exhaustion and trauma weighed heavily on them all as they clung to the hope of survival, waiting for help to arrive. Together, they formed a united front, working as a team to keep their injured friends going. Finally, the long-awaited moment arrived. Around 3 a.m, the emergency services located their tent and came to their rescue. It was a mix of relief and exhaustion that washed over them. They were finally being taken to safety, away from the nightmare they had endured. Once they were in the care of the rescuers, a thorough assessment of their injuries was carried out. The severity of their conditions determined the next steps. It was clear that Joshua Berg and Samuel Gotzigan were in the most critical condition. Their injuries were so severe that they were immediately flown to the Providence, Alaska Medical Center in Anchorage, a place equipped for intensive medical care. Doctors there fought hard to save their lives, working tirelessly to mend their broken bodies and bring them back from the brink. The other boys' injuries were less severe, but still needed medical attention. They were flown to the Matsu Hospital, where their wounds were tended to. After receiving treatment for their injuries, they could return to their families. The journey to recovery had begun, a path filled with physical healing and the emotional scars left by the traumatic event they had experienced. A secondary crew was dispatched to retrieve the remaining teenagers, ensuring everyone was accounted for and brought to safety. The journey back was a mix of relief and introspection, a time for the boys to process the events that had unfolded and begin the process of healing, both physically and emotionally. Thankfully, all the boys managed to survive. However, their recoveries were challenging, both physically and mentally. National Outdoor Leadership School also discussed what happened and praised the boys for their survival skills. They mentioned that even if an adult leader had been there, the horrific events probably wouldn't have turned out differently. This acknowledgement provided some solace to the boys and their families, knowing that they had done everything within their power to survive. In the aftermath, the boys faced a long road to recovery. Joshua Berg and Samuel Gotzagan underwent multiple surgeries to repair the extensive damage caused by the bear attack. Their physical injuries were severe, but the emotional and psychological impact was equally profound. The boys received counselling to help them cope with the trauma they had experienced, a vital part of their healing process. Looking back, the boys understood that their survival was due not only to their training, but also to their determination and the strong bond they shared. They had faced a terrifying predator, endured unimaginable pain, and emerged on the other side with a deeper appreciation for life and a profound respect for the wilderness. If you enjoy true stories, then I know you will enjoy the stories in this playlist. Until next time, bye for now.